Good morning, this is Kelley Hobart from Alpaca Direct, and I'm so happy to be with you here today. And guess what I'm wearing? I finally finished my match play. And when I was blocking this, it was still a little bit wet, so I went ahead and put it in a dryer because it's supposed to be superwash and a regular warm dryer for 30 minutes, and you can see that the yarn did not do anything funky. It's totally beautiful. So I would say that this yarn is worth the little extra money that you have to pay for it. So let's talk about what I did for my match play to be like this. First of all, when I picked up the pattern to do it, I was worried about the gauge. And I couldn't get gauge according to what she said. And then I thought to myself, well, I'm going to take the Sueno yarn and look at the back and see what needle size it recommends and check my gauge and see if I get the gauge that is recommended on Sueno that you would get with that size needle. So I went ahead and did that, and I was very close to gauge. So then I did a little math to see. I had measured from how long I wanted it to be on either side, and then I just counted how many stitches in 4 inches, and so I got how many stitches in 1 inch, and then I multiplied that by how long that I wanted it to go across from one side to the other, and it gave me the rough amount of stitches that I would need to cast on, even though I didn't get gauge for the project. And so I knew that my project, if I used the gauge that I had done with my math and my swatch, that I would get the width that I wanted for my match play poncho. And so that's what I did, and guess what? It turned out great. I really like it. Also with the collar, I did mine a little different than what was recommended in the pattern. You know how I am, I always change something. So what I did with that is I wanted my collar to be up around my neck a little bit more and be a little bit fuller looking. And so what I did is I used a number 5 needle for 3 inches, number 4 needle for 3 inches, and then I went back to my 5, 6, and 7 until I got tired of doing it. And then I went ahead and I bound off using the I-cord bind off. And also I used my I-cord bind off. I used a smaller needle for that, but how I compensated for that is I put it on a smaller needle and I knit 5, knit front and back, because it's garter, you can't see this, that increases on the stitch. And because I didn't want my I-cord bind off to be tight, because you know, being able to pull it over your head is important, and you don't want the I-cord to look like it's so tight that it's causing a problem getting it on and off. So that's how I solved that problem. But I really like this poncho, and I really like the Sueno yarn, so I'm very happy with the knit along. And this pattern will be free until I believe December 31st, and it's by Michelle Hunter. And if you haven't heard about her, she was a teacher for 30 years, and then she retired and started knitting. So she uses her fantastic teaching skills to go ahead and help us with our knitting skills. So she's a great resource to learn from. So also, before I get on too far along in here, I wanted to talk about the price for today. We carry these My Baggies in alpacadirect.com, and this is the price for today. It's the medium-sized My Baggie, and they're wonderful little baggies, and what I like about them is they have these snaps along the front, and you can actually put your yarn inside the bag and the yarn will thread out through the snaps, but the yarn itself will stay inside of the bag. So if you have little critters at home that like to mess with your yarn, these My Baggies are fantastic. So if I were you and you like this kind of thing, I would give it a try because I feel like it's a great product. So our winner for this last week won some of these lovely ankle socks, and I will be talking about who that winner is very shortly. So back to our project ideas for how we can store them efficiently, inexpensively, and maybe thinking outside of the box. You know how I am. So this is one of my bins that I have at home, and it's by Sterilite. And it is actually the 7.5 gallon, and you'll see that I have it labeled here with my label maker. And I label my yarns by the weight. So I do chunky and bulky, and I don't have a ton of chunky and bulky yarn, so it all fit into this one container here. And what I like about this Sterilite one is these actual lock mechanism on the side does not break easily. So when I was looking for my project container, I'm looking for this not to be very sturdy. And another thing that I always do is I store it in a see-through container, because when I'm looking at my yarns to see what I have where, I can see through the bins and see what's inside, and I feel like that's really valuable.
Such a smart idea.
It is a great idea for us to be able to see inside. Now, if I open this up and look in here, also this container fits up on my uppermost shelf in the closet too high. So I measured it with the tape measure from my shelf to the ceiling to see what that height was. And when I was looking for containers, I took a tape measure with me and I measured that, you know, the height to get the perfect fit. So if you're looking for specific size containers, measure your dimensions of the area where you will be putting them, and then go shopping with your tape measure in hand, okay? So now I'm looking at the Ziploc. I've told you a million times that I use Ziploc bags to store my projects, and you'll see a project that I'm working on, it actually has the pattern in it, and it has the project, and the needles are right there. If for some reason I needed these needles, I would put on here what size needle I was using, and I would put a little sticky note on the actual pattern sealed inside of the Ziploc. So I could actually take this off the needles, put it on scrap yarn, and use the needles for something else, and then come back and knit these later, because I would know what size needle I needed to use. So that's just something to think about when you're storing your projects. If you need those needles for another project, you can just take them off and then put them back on. So I know that a lot of you out there are knitters, but I also thought it was worth mentioning this one container. So I also like to do quilting, and I went to Home Depot. So you can look for your containers that you're going to use in all different places. The ones that were at the knitting store were very expensive for the actual knitting containers, and they weren't exactly the quality that I would like. So I went to the tool department, and this is a Husky, and it had all these plastic containers in here, and I just took out which ones that I thought I would not use, and I've stored them away. But you see this one, these pull out. So when I'm at the actual place and I'm taking my class, I can take these different containers out and set them, and then move this and put it back in my bag. So this little, and as well, look at this container. It's see-through. Do you see how you can see what you have in there? So when I'm packing and getting ready to go to a class, I can easily see what's in here and what I need to bring with me. So it's always great to keep that in mind when you're looking for your containers. If you can find a see-through one, I think it's worth doing that, as opposed to finding one that is solid and you can't tell what's in it. So this is actually a crochet. It's actually a knitting and crocheted item, and this bag right here, it's fabulous. We do not sell these on Alpaca Direct, and the reason why is when I went to they look lovely and everything, but it's like $40 for this little case. So I felt like it wasn't cost effective. And at Alpaca Direct, I like to buy stuff that are reasonably priced and of high quality. This one was just a little bit more expensive than what we're looking for. So if you look at the My Baggie, this one is cost effective. It's not that expensive, it's of good quality, and it is very functional and useful. So this is another thing. I don't know if you've seen these before, but these are huge jumbo storage bags, and you can store almost a sweater quantity of yarn inside, and it's resealable. So and this was like maybe $2 and something. Very inexpensive, and you got 12 bags, and you can reuse these over and over. I would say don't get new ones every time. I keep them in a special spot with all my extras, And then when I need them again, they're waiting for me. So as we're going along, make sure that you're sharing with your friends. And if you guys have any great ideas out there that you can share with us and your fellow knitters or crafters, it's much appreciated because we love learning from you, of course. This right here is a clear see-through container, and I keep these. It's from some linens that I had bought. But do you see how it's see-through? And it would store a sweater quantity of yarn as well. And it has a nice little zipper on it. So we can recycle and use these bags again and again. And when we get linens and things like that, if they're good quality bags, tuck them away and you can figure out a use for them. Maybe you put tools in them, or knitting, whatever you do. So last night I also went to the fishing department at our local sporting goods store, and this is actually for tackle. And this is another bag. It's made out of denier nylon. It's not the best color, but they have different ones. If you search and you look, you can find different colors. I have found blue ones before, but this is what I could find. And they have, see how this has the little rivets in here? And you can take these in and out and you can reuse them. It's very sturdy. They have Ziploc type containers, and what these would be great for, and they have a bunch of different bags, so you little zippered areas, so you can put notions in certain areas, and maybe you could store your circular needles. And then maybe you could take your P-Touch, which is one of these little things, and if you guys don't have one of these, I use it for everything. When my husband reorganizes his toolbox, I write on the outside where the screwdrivers and everything goes, so that he and I both know when we put it back, to put it back in the proper spot. So when we need a tape measure, we can actually find the tape measure. And so that is a little trick that I've used. Also, these nice little bags that I have here are bags that I bought at TJ Maxx, and they're just clear and see-through, and they're great for using on the plane. This came in like a 5-pack, so I couldn't find all of them because they're being used, but I wanted to show you. And this is the notion container that I actually use for myself, and I wanted to show you a few things. Number one, okay, so most of mine in here are gone. We sell these at Alpaca Direct. They're the locking stitch markers, and what's good about our locking stitch markers is it's a larger quantity for the same price as a smaller quantity. So if you see these online on our website, they're actually a pretty good deal. And I also wanted to show you this Altoids container. I like Altoids, so I put the little stitch markers, and these are the little hair bands that you buy at Sally's Beauty Supply. And I use these especially with students because they're gonna flip them off, and I use them at home too. So when they go flying, I don't care, I just vacuum them up. And because it's $1.99 for like 500 of them, which is a fantastic deal. So that was another idea that I have. Let me show you one more idea before we start looking at a couple more projects that I have done this week, and also a lovely hat that Tara has knit. So I'm gonna walk right over here. And I wanted to show you, this is from the tool section. I like to take the quilting classes, and I have my sewing machine here. And when I was looking for a sewing machine case, they were like close to $200 for a good sewing machine case. And I'm like, oh no, that's way too expensive. Plus the wheels on the back weren't that great, and we travel all the time. So it's very important for me to have good wheels, because I know what can happen if you don't. They wobble and they cause you just all kind of mischief. And so I went to the tool section and I bought this tool bag. Again, it's by Husky. And see, I went to the storage container place, and or maybe it was, I don't know, Walmart or somewhere like that. And I found these little clear containers to hold all my different notions, and I stuck them in the outside pocket. And here is my foot pedal is there, and then I have my the cord that you plug into the wall. But what I did with this case is I cut out all the pockets that were all along this side. I just took my scissors and cut them out as close as I could to the edge. And if you look at this zipper and you look at your, if any of you have sewing machine cases out there, this zipper is really sturdy. And it has fantastic handles that are like padded, really, really sturdy. And it lifts up like a piece of luggage, right? And it's not wobbly, it's very sturdy. But it's not super heavy either. And see the wheels? The wheels are super, super nice, and I think they'll last for years. And you can actually put your name or a business card, so your item, your sewing machine, if it were to be separated from you, they would know who it went to. But that is really cool. And then I'll show you how I just recycle some of this bubble wrap and I put it in with my sewing machine. And this sewing machine fits perfectly in there. Isn't that cool? That's so cool. And then I'll just stick that in there to kind of protect it. And then this one, I literally went slushing through snow when I went to a class, and everyone else was struggling. They were having to pick up their case. And I didn't pick it up. I just went straight through, and see how well it rolls? It's totally cool. So my point of this whole thing about storage containers and things like that is be creative. Look in the dollar store, look in Walmart, look in Target, look where they're having sales. And take your tape measure with you and measure it and look at the handles and the wheels and the connectors and say, are they good quality? If it's good quality, it may be at the dollar store and be great quality. You know, so you have to look at the quality of different things. So those are just a few of the ideas for storing your containers. Now this last week I went to TJ Maxx and I saw this beautiful stocking and I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I want to make one like it, because I haven't seen too many stockings on Ravelry that had actual just patterns and not color work. And so I came up with this one. And I have to redo the name and reblock it. It's not completely done yet. But here is my stocking, and it's using a short row heel and some moss stitch and nice cabling. So I made that, and then for the little loop that we're going to connect it to it, I made it with an I-cord. And then, so that's going to be my loop, and it's a 3-stitch I-cord. Any bigger and it was too big. And then I made these little charms to go on it. And they're little tiny Christmas trees, and it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to make one of these little Christmas trees. But I'm going to attach that to my project, see? So it'll be like little charms. So that was really fun, and that was just a pattern that I came up using the math that we talked about from the tags of on the back of your yarn, and a sample. So I measured how wide this was because I like the width of that. The only thing I didn't completely account for was that this is superwash yarn, which tends to stretch a little bit, so it got a little bit bigger when it was blocked, but it's totally fine. Brendan, my son, I'm making this stocking for Evie, and Brandon said it's fine because they have bought her a ton of stuff, and a big stocking would be awesome. And what I'm going to do with my stocking is I'm actually going to line it with fabric so it keeps it from stretching anymore. Just because it's been so cold out there, this pattern is called the Gray Leg Warmer pattern. And it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I don't have the name of the designer, but it's called Gray Leg Warmers. And what I did with this pattern is I did exactly what I told you that I did with this cowl. I started with like 11 and then went 4 inches or so, and then went to a 12 and then went to a 13. So I increased the width toward the top to make it more comfortable on my leg. And I did not change the stitch count. All I did was change the needle size. So you guys can keep that in mind when you're doing your projects. And oh my gosh, Tara is one of our staff members here, and she is such an awesome knitter. And I've talked about the Simply Kriya yarn by Haiku. And this is Simply Kriya. Isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, and it's called the Vines hat. And I wish I could show you how soft it was, but this Simply Kriya is just beautiful. This has not been blocked yet either. And so Tara has done a beautiful job on it, and it is so nice. Matter of fact, look, after I looked at hers, okay, some things that I learned from Tara is when I saw this project, I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. What size needle did you use? And then she said number 7. So, and what was the name of the pattern? So I went over to Ravelry real quick, and I printed out the pattern, and then I put on the top US number 7s, and she increased her stitches to 96 stitches for this pattern, so she had to do a couple more repeats to get the hat to the right dimensions that she was talking about. But it's funny because this hat to me looks so, but this hat looks fantastic. And so I'm very excited to make this hat.
It goes with your
yeah, that's so beautiful. I love this Simply Kriya. This is Super Baby Alpaca, which is a step above Baby Alpaca. And I wish I could describe to you how soft it is. Suffice to say, it's even softer than regular Baby Alpaca. So it's totally beautiful. And it comes in on the skein. See, I've already gotten mine. And that is by Haiku.
And this is the yarn that was used in the hat, right?
Yes, and she used 2 skeins of the purple and 1 of this teal color. But I just love, I love that. I'm very excited to be able to make that.
And we do carry this yarn, right?
Yes, it's on alpacadirect.com. Yes, we do carry that. So, in which I needed to remind that last week's winner for our alpaca ankle socks was Lynn Blair. So Lynn Blair, please get in contact with alpacadirect.com customer service and give us your address, and we can send these lovely socks out to you. If you haven't tried alpaca socks, I would highly recommend that you do. We've had people flooding into the store to grab their socks because they know that many of the colors and sizes will be sold out as it gets closer to Christmas. So those of you that are giving socks for Christmas, buy them early because we'll run out of colors and sizes. And also, I wanted to talk about just for a second about the socks. Originally, years ago, before I was wise like I am now, I used to think that socks were a kind of boring gift. But I have seen error in my ways, and I have many of my family members that all they ask for is these alpaca socks. So if you want alpaca socks, make sure to buy them early because we could sell out of them, and then you won't have all the colors.
So Kelley, Grandpa Jim wants to know how baby Evie is doing.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so yesterday I got a call from my daughter-in-law Meg, and she wasn't feeling well at all. She's feeling terrible, and she's like, please, can you come and take us to the emergency room because little Evie has a terrible cold and Meg isn't feeling well either. So I went and got them and brought them both to the doctors, and they are doing well, and Evie has been started on her antibiotics by Grandma, and I took her home with me, and she went to bed at 8:30 p.m. and did not wake up until 4:30 a.m. I mean, she is fantastic. So I don't know, but I am so happy to have her, and I could hardly imagine a better baby. And she really is kind of feeling miserable, but she is such a sweet little girl and such a joy.
Adorable. Sounds like she's an early riser, just like you and Jim.
Well, she went to bed at 8:30, so she slept 8 hours for her little one. That was great. And then I was feeding her, and they're feeding her rice cereal, and she has like a gag reflex, and it's not because she's spitting her food out, which babies typically do when they're learning how to eat. She literally was gagging from the taste. And so Grandma has cooked her up an apple, and after I talk to Meg and make sure it's okay and I run it through the food processor, I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of apple to her rice cereal so that she will not mind the taste. because that allowing her to get filled up a little bit more. She's almost 18 pounds. She's hungry. So I fed her very well before I put her in her swing, and she slept for 8 hours. So I'm going to be doing that again tonight, because I will have her again tonight. So let's see, was there anything else that we needed to mention? I mentioned the winner from last week, and that was Lynn Blair. And then today is our medium tangerine My Baggie. And how you enter to win this wonderful My Baggie is you post comments in the comment section. And even better, give us some pictures so we can see your beautiful projects that you are working on, and we can learn from you. And then you'll be entered to win this lovely My Baggie. And if you share with others, that's even better, because then they could be entered to win the gifts or prizes that we have every single week. Also, we have a wonderful VIP Facebook group, and there are some very talented knitters in that group, and it is such a joy to be able to look at the projects that they're working on and share back and forth and learn from each other. Because if people get stuck on something in their knitting and you post a comment, then someone else will give you these wonderful ideas about how to solve your problems. So it is a great group, and it's free, and so I would highly recommend that you sign up for that. And make sure that you post comments in the comment section so that you can enter for a chance to win today's prize. And every single week we have prizes. So you just post comments in the comment section, and maybe some pictures about or names of patterns that you're working on. You know, whatever it is that you have that you can share so that you can help others learn, and we learn from you. Also, this next week I am going to be talking about the fabric that you create when you're knitting and or crocheting and you're doing your projects, and how to make that fabric so that it is always soft and squishy and never turns into bulletproof armor. We don't want that to happen. And so we'll be talking about that this next week at the same time, and on Tuesday as well. And I don't think there is any more that we need to talk about. So I will see you this next Tuesday. You all take care, and you have a great week.